What is going on, Vikings fans? Today, we're going to look at the tape of Jonathan Greenard, a guy that I think might be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and I'm talking specifically from a pass rush technique perspective. To me, this guy is absolutely incredible. He has a legit pass rush plan, and he's very, very hard to block, and I think we're at the point where when you guys watch some of this guy's pass rushing abilities, the guy's incredible, man. It's insane to me what this guy's able to do from a bend perspective, a technique perspective. And I think he's only gotten better and better and better over the course of the season. And he had a monster game against arguably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I think the Detroit Lions are very, very good. And you see Greenard do a phenomenal job. So let's talk a little bit about what this guy does as a pure pass rusher. So right out of his stance, he's going to do it as a hezzy move. He's going to double hand swipe. He's going to end up getting chipped or influenced by that running back. And with that, he's also going to come back to a third move. And you see him kind of break that contact of this left tackle. He ends up getting held, but he still generates pressure. He still wins this rep. And if this play on 3rd and 3 picked up 7, 8, 9 yards, or essentially the first down, it's coming back because of Greenard. Right, so you're going to see him right out of his stance. He's going to hesitate to the inside. Right, he's faking towards the inside. He's going to jump back to the outside. He's going to double hand swipe, and the swipe works. You see him make contact with the outside hand, and he gets on top of those hands, right? So to me, that's a great job right there, but unfortunately for Greenard, he's going to run right into the running back. The running back here has what's called an influenced chip. So essentially, he's going to go to the outside. And if Greenard tries to get super high and try to hit the corner here on the left tackle, the running back's going to hit him, right? The running back's going to make contact and he's going to slow him down. Now, Greenard does end up getting chipped a little bit by the running back, and he's going to have to come back to the inside because of this. But if the running back's not there, Greenard wins to the outside, essentially, right? Regardless of that, he still ends up winning. He does a great job going from the hezzy move to the double hand swipe, and then look at him with the left hand here, pick up Decker and push him over to the side. And he's going to end up getting held as well. He's going to bring the right hand underneath. He's trying to essentially punch with the left hand, rip with the right hand, right? It's really like his 3rd or 4th move within the pass rush. He's going to take that arm, he's going to push it all the way up through that tackle. And he's going to end up getting held right there. The referee obviously calls it, right? So this play would have came back regardless if Jared Goff picks up the first down or not. Just a really, really good job right here. But keep in mind, there's a ton of plays like this on tape where Greenard's just winning, right? He's generating pressure. He's getting after the quarterback. This one right here goes for 14 yards, but to be honest, I don't think this play was meant to go to the running back. I think there was a design within this play where the quarterback wanted to push the ball downfield, but because the pressure was so instant, he has to get the ball out. So if you guys look at the route concept here, you're going to get a play action towards the left of the formation, which means the quarterback is most likely going to want to drive the football over here towards the right of where the quarterback's essentially looking. So if you guys keep an eye on the route concept down here, you guys can see that the dig route ends up being wide open, right? You see the wide receiver end up getting some separation here. And if the quarterback hits this dig, I mean, you guys tell me how much room this wide receiver right now has. From this point, I don't think these guys would be able to kind of make the play. I mean, there's a lot of space here for the wide receiver. Now, of course, the quarterback was not able to actually get to that because of that instant pressure. So these are the type of plays that I think sometimes get overlooked with the guy like Greenard. Now, of course, you see the linebacker ends up getting out of coverage, and the play still picks up about 14 yards. But to me, these are the type of impactful plays that Greenard makes that I think sometimes get overlooked. Right? So unless you watch tape, you won't actually recognize how explosive Greenard is and how he impacts a play. Right? To me, this is such an impressive play because this guy's able to beat a good left tackle in Eric Decker here by you literally just putting his foot into the ground and changing direction. So Greenard's going to start upfield, as you'll see here. As soon as he takes 2 steps upfield, he's going to put the right foot into the dirt here, change his direction back to the inside, and the left tackle has no way to essentially be able to stick with a guy like Greenard. He's too fast, he's too quick, and he's going to generate instant pressure, and the quarterback has to get the ball out. Again, the quarterback does not want to make this pass. This is a check down. And the running backs barely catches the ball as well as you guys can see. It ended up just working out, but you guys see the point here. Greenard does a really, really good job on this one. So over the first 2 plays that we've looked at, you guys have seen multiple pass rush moves by Greenard. On the first one, he essentially tried to hezzy with the double hand swipe. It didn't work, so he ends up with the punch rip as his counter on that first snap. The last one you guys looked at, he essentially just changed direction. You guys saw him get to the quarterback super quickly. On this one, he's going to try to spin. And this is one of the things with certain pass rushers in the NFL, right? The guys that have multiple pass rush moves are the guys that are going to have the most success getting to the quarterback. And keep in mind with Greenard, he was a late developer, But there's multiple guys like Greenard. He's not the only guy that's kind of done this. We've seen guys like Malcolm Kuntz break out this past season. Second-year player Nick Herbig for the Pittsburgh Steelers has looked really, really good as well. And these are guys that have elite bend. These guys are guys that have different pass rush moves. And they're guys that have fine-tuned some of those different techniques. And with the guy like Greenard, you're definitely seeing that as well. The guy's doing a really, really good job with so many different moves. Here's a different move as well. This one, he's going to long arm the tackle. He's going to just get that left hand right into him. He's going to gain leverage, and I think that's one of the big parts with this play. Yeah, if you're going to long arm, you got to be able to gain leverage. So this is a great job here. It's going to land to the right side of that chest plate. And from there, he's going to straight up just bull rush this guy right back into the quarterback. That's a great job right there by Greenard, and that's once again pressure on the quarterback, right? So it's a really, really good job. Now, Greenard did have a sack in this game, and he's going to end up going to that double hand swipe that we saw work earlier. Earlier, the running back actually influenced Greenard, and on this one, the running back has to pick up the linebacker that ends up blitzing. So this is one of those scheme things that I think sometimes get overlooked. You know, Brian Flores is a great coach. I think everybody knows that. But what people don't recognize why he's a great coach, and this is a great example of essentially why he's a great coach. So I want to show you guys this play, talk about it a little bit. So one of the things that a coach has to do is he has to give his guys one-on-one opportunities. He has to understand the situation.
Now, before we go forward, I want to just take a second to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this channel, because this content would not be possible without Underdog. If you guys have never utilized Underdog before, trust me, man, you guys are missing out. I don't do traditional fantasy sports that often. I did do one league this year, but generally speaking, I'm not really doing it anymore. And that's mostly because of Underdog. Underdog has this game that I really, really enjoy. It's called Pick'em. Essentially, you're going to go out there and just make picks that you think are going to be right. They'll have pretty much every pick you can think of for every player, and they have multiple categories as well. So an example would be, you know, I think Aiden O'Connell is going to throw for 125 yards. And you're essentially just going to pick higher on that, right? I think he'll have more than 125 yards. You might say, hey, Dak Prescott's going to have at least 2 touchdowns. I'll pick higher on that. You might say Caleb Williams is going to have a rushing touchdown. And some of those stats also give you multipliers, right? So usually for quarterbacks rushing it in, right? That's something most quarterbacks aren't doing every single week. You'll get like a 4x multiplier on that. So depending on the multiplier, depending on how many picks, you know, you can turn $5 into $400, $1,000, right? Whatever it ends up being. Obviously, it depends on the multiplier, but you know, Underdog to me is one of those places that I pretty much do every single week at this point. Very fun. It makes like watching the Jets and the Dolphins without Tua makes them interesting, right? So check out Underdog. If you guys have never used them before, it is the best place. Trust me when I say that. Go to underdogfantasy.com, use my promo code that you guys see on the screen, or use the app. I recommend the app. So let's get right back into the content.
One of the things that a coach has to do is he has to give his guys one-on-one opportunities, and he has to understand essentially what's happening up front. On this play here, there's no chip help on Penei Sewell, right? Essentially, there's no tight end that's lined up here, and that makes sense. This is one of the things that the Lions are going to do pretty much on every single play. Sewell's obviously one of the top 2 tackles in the NFL. But what they will do is they'll help the other tackle, right? But as a coach like Brian Flores, one of the things you do is you simulate pressure, right? This guy's going to end up dropping off. You slant these guys over here, and then you blitz number 43 right through the B gap. And what happens is then the running back is forced to essentially step up and pick that up. Because if 43 drops off here instead, the running back's going to end up chipping Jonathan Greenard. So this is why it's important that on obvious passing situations, you can draw certain things up, right? You can simulate pressure. You can bring a linebacker. You can make sure a specific guy gets a true one-on-one opportunity. And again, if it's a pass rushing situation, good things happen. And that's why Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL, is because of plays like this. The fact that this guy's able to draw it up and give a guy like Greenard an opportunity, and Greenard's able to make of that opportunity, is why it just works. To me, I think the Vikings have one of the best defensive schemes in the NFL. And, you know, Brian Flores for years worked with Bill Belichick. And we're seeing a lot of former Bill Belichick assistants having success running multiple different schemes. Even Patrick Graham, who is currently the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, is doing a phenomenal job, right? It's a lot of similarities between Graham and as well as Brian Flores, right? Unleashing guys like Jonathan Greenard for Flores. Graham does the same thing with guys like Malcolm Kuntz. He does the same thing with guys like Max Crosby. But you're starting to see a very, very good defense really come together. And it's because of the pass rushers up front, right? And Greenard obviously has done a really, really good job. And there's been other guys that have stepped up as well. I want to wrap this video up. I want to show you guys just a couple more pass rushes. This one's going to end up resulting in a sack. Greenard doesn't actually get the sack, but, you know, there's a stat out there that NFL teams measure called sack created. And essentially, this right here is one sack created for Jonathan Greenard. He's going to beat the left tackle. He's going to get to the quarterback. Quarterbacks are able to run away from guys, right? Especially if a tackle is essentially pushing a guy. But a second guy could potentially get there. And on this one here, Van Ginkel ends up getting to the quarterback. Now, it's a great job running the defensive line game up front by both Greenard, and then Van Ginkel ends up being able to contain the outside. And he ends up getting to the quarterback, right? And forcing the sack. It's a 14-yard loss. But to me, this is a phenomenal job by Greenard, right? He spins back to the inside. And he sets it up perfectly as well, right? You see the left hand get out in front, and then he's going to spin back to the inside. And he's going to beat the tackle here. And it's just flawless the way this guy's able to beat guys. It's impressive. To me, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and I'll stick with that, right? I think the Minnesota Vikings truly got an elite pass rusher in Greenard. And what's crazy is a lot of people aren't going to give this guy the credit he deserves, right? He is still severely underrated in the NFL, but I think there's a real chance this guy's one of top 2 or 3 pass rushers from a pure technique perspective. But I think there's a real chance this guy's also one of the best overall defensive ends, right? Like, it's not like Greenard can't play the run, right? You see a lot of plays like this where he does a good job. Now, of course, he'll have to continue to develop the run game, right? He'll have to continue to get snaps. But there's so much upside with a guy like Greenard, right? There's plays that this guy's making. Oftentimes, he's getting upfield. He's resetting the line of scrimmage. He's being disruptive. Here's another example of that. You're going to run a zone play towards the right. And essentially, because of the fact that Greenard gets so far upfield, he's going to essentially reset the line of scrimmage. He's going to get into this tight end. He's going to push him backwards. And when he does that, the running back has to cut it back towards the inside. So again, that's a phenomenal job by Greenard, right? To be able to kind of do that, reset the line of scrimmage. And there's so many good plays on tape with Greenard. It's just impressive, man. I really like what the Minnesota Vikings got in Jonathan Greenard. And it's crazy because he was a late bloomer with the Houston Texans. And the Texans also kind of chose to let him go. And they brought in Danielle Hunter, who I think's a good player, but Greenard's a lot younger. I think it would have made a lot more sense to just kind of keep a homegrown talent as opposed to letting him go. Either way, I think the Minnesota Vikings got themselves a very good football player. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. We are covering the Minnesota Vikings on this channel pretty much every other week at this point, right? So expect at least 2 film breakdowns every single month. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.